I'm here with Amjad Masad, co-founder, CEO of Replit. I'm super excited. Here at Hackingtons, we are big fans. And for those that don't know what Replit is, maybe do you have like a quick synopsis?
Sure, yeah. Well, first of all, we're big fans of Hackingtons as well. That's awesome seeing what people, what really creative kids are building with our platform. Really awesome. The easiest way to describe it is that it's an editor, but it's a lot more than that. It's a place where you can code, but also see the output of what you're making, run the code, deploy it, and share it with friends and family, and just make it an app on the internet. So it's an all-in-one place to code, share, collaborate with others. You can just code with other people and meet people in the community and make friends and build apps and join hackathons. And so it's becoming a lot more than just an editor.
A lot of founders of companies, they design products that actually are something that they want and they need. Does Replit fit that for you? Is this something that you wanted?
When I was a kid, making a new project a lot of times involved you go on the internet and you get inspiration, right? You look at what other people are making. Maybe you go to GitHub and you look at other repositories and what people are doing, or today you go to Replit, right? But before Replit and before GitHub, before all these things, there was no place to go to look at other projects, look at other code, get inspired, right? So that was like going back to when I was 12, 13 years old. When I want to build something new, I would go to the internet cafe, try to download as much code as possible, play around with it, take it home, play around with it, and then copy and paste code from different places. Replit kind of makes this a lot easier. You can go and now you have this big community where you can look at what they're building and you can get inspired. You can see that someone is building a chat room, and then you can go fork that and make your own chat room with like maybe more colors or more interesting theme on top of that. And so we see a lot of that in the community of people building a certain app, other people forking it, changing it, bringing in other elements from other places. So a big part of it is just coding and learning how to code. When I was growing up, was very dry. It was very lonely, and it was very hard to get started. So it solves all of that. But also, when I went to college, I spent a lot of time setting up my development environment. Every time I wanted to solve homework, every time I wanted to practice programming, every time I wanted to set up a project. So the idea of going to a new browser tab and start coding is just amazing. Yeah.
And that's why we love it so much. But you mentioned when you were 13 years old, you were coding, but you'd have to travel to an internet cafe?
Yeah, those things. So you didn't have internet at home. Where I'm from Jordan, you'd have to be really rich to have internet at home. So for me, I'd actually have to walk a mile or two to get to the internet cafe, and then look at code online or go on the internet, which actually maybe a little bit better for focus. Because right now it's really hard to focus because we have a lot of distractions. It was good that at home you were not connected, but you'd had to go somewhere else to get connected.
And now with Replit, you can essentially purchase a Chromebook for $100.
Yes.
And have a full development environment.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of mind-blowing.
Yes. What's going on today with Chromebooks, with the ubiquity of internet connection, it's just changing programming and changing how we build things, right? So Elon Musk just launched Starlink. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
So Starlink is a SpaceX project that they're going to actually make satellites beam internet up and down all over the globe. So the idea is that you have ubiquitous internet wherever you go. So now imagine buying a Chromebook, which also surely will keep going down in price. So say like 5 years from now, it's $50. And so you buy that thing, and wherever you go in the world, you just open it and go to Replit and start coding. You're wherever, you're rural India, and you save up a little bit of money and you go to the store, buy the Chromebook, and you open it and you go to Replit, and you can immediately start producing and making software and maybe even selling it. And
when you hired your employee number one, which I'm sure a lot of our students are like, I want to work at Replit. What is the difference between hiring employee number one to fast forward to today, and like what type of employee you're looking for?
So for employee number one, we are looking for just a really good programmer, just a general purpose programmer that can jump in and figure something out, learn it really quickly, and build something quick. And actually, it came from our community. So our first hire, Mason, who you just met earlier, he was 18 when we hired him. That was in 2016.
18 years old.
18
and
years
he's your
old.
first hire at
First
Replit.
hire. Yeah, and he was a user. Yeah, we hired him from our community, and he now runs our infrastructure. So he owns our entire infrastructure. Every time you write code and you hit it run, the stuff that he's working on is the stuff that enabled that to run. This is something we're still interested in. We're interested in discovering talents. We're interested in getting young talents. And the reason is because, the makeup of our company needs to somewhat reflect our user base. So we need to empathize with them. And so hiring people from our community is very important because they know what needs to be done. They know what needs to be built because they're going to use it themselves. Yeah. And that's the best thing you can ask for. Like the most boring job for a programmer is something that they would never use, right? If you work at a bank and you're working at Wall Street or something like that, you're never going to use the software you're building. Maybe they pay you a lot of money, but after a certain point of getting paid a certain amount of money, it just becomes less motivating, right? But working at a place like Replit, where you can interact with the community, you can build something for them, and you can see them use it, and you can use it yourself, it's just very, very rewarding experience. So in terms of what we look for today, we do look for a little bit more experienced people, but we're always kind of trying to balance the team and get people from our community, get people on the younger side, but also get more senior people to help us kind of scale out.
So if you're a young programmer and in 4 years you're going to graduate and look for a job, how do you stand out?
I think it's very important that you have a portfolio. It's very important that you build rapport and you build a network with other programmers, that you build some kind of recognition. And today, there's a lot of different avenues for you to do that. So we're on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and actually build a community, build a following there, and employers will notice you. But you can go on Replit, and now our top creators are very well known in our community and are getting followers on Twitter a lot of times because we amplify what they're doing as well. So
you've worked for Code Academy, you've worked as an employee for Facebook, and now you are the CEO of a well-funded startup. How have you grown?
When you're at a startup, there's one thing that's really good and really bad at the same time, which is a lot of freedom and autonomy, right? Nobody gives you direction. And so you need to figure out what's the best way to contribute, right? And if you fail, you'll get fired or the company will fail. So a lot of bad things might happen if you didn't figure it out. So you're thrown into this thing. It's almost throwing a kid into a pool so that they learn how to swim, which actually my father did to me. And I ended up being a good swimmer. And he literally threw us in a pool. And so I ended up being on the national team, swimming for the national team eventually. So we won a lot of competitions and things like that. So I like that kind of learning. So
and does being a CEO of a startup, does that fit your personality?
That also, I think another part of my personality is like being interested in a lot of things and having a very well-rounded set of skills. So I always try to think like what makes me good or special or whatever. And I think nothing in particular. And that's in itself a superpower. Being able to understand business, understand sales, understand product, understand programming, understand back end, front end of programming, understand hiring, understand management, all that stuff. I'm interested in all of it. I may not be the best at any one thing, and I'm always able to find people that are better than me in everything that I can do, but I always like to kind of get in and learn what to do, and then maybe later I'll hire someone that is better at that than me, right? For me, being a CEO ends up being really rewarding and fun because I get to learn on the job a lot of these different things, and then I get to hire people that are better than me to do them instead of me going in and doing them forever.
Well, thank you, Amjad. It's been really insightful. I could keep going on for hours. I want to hear more about how your dad threw you in the pool. No. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Remember that,